Hello and welcome to Nirmal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Yolanda. We have with us Kunal, Shah, Head of Research Commodities, joining in. Kunal, with what's happening with crude right now, we are seeing volatile moves. One point I want to discuss with regards to crude is that the huge volume of crude that was held at sea has now started to shrink, and the expectation is that it will continue to decline into the second half of this year with the recovery in the demand. Does this really help anything or change anything in terms of pricing?
Okay, first of all, before I go into all of this thing, I'd like to explain the macro scenario, and I'll just try to show everyone one slide, and then I think I'll share with my view on crude oil and other commodities because it is very important. So just look at this slide. Now this three line what we are seeing right now, okay, so this is the inflation at US, the red line. This one is the inflation at Europe, and this one is the inflation at Japan.
Hmm.
So if you see here, the inflation has been declining sharply post COVID crisis, COVID-19 crisis. So what basically it does, it shows that there is a chances of deflation which can take place going forward. So what happens in deflation? In deflation, asset prices goes down, may it be stocks, may it be commodities, may it be other asset class. And what right now we are seeing is a very different thing. What we are seeing right now is that central banks are pumping so much money that they want to get rid of deflation and they want inflation back. So in last 1 month, what we saw, last 1 month, what we saw was US Treasury protected securities. There was a massive buying done in that. So some investors are expecting inflation going forward. So what does it mean for commodity? Okay, it means that even though the fundamental which remains grim, the actual trend for commodity is definitely going to be not much downside, because when so much money comes in, the value of commodity goes up, and when value of commodity goes up, even though the fundamental can remain bearish, but then too the prices will uh, keep on moving up. So I think this is the theme which everyone who is there in this meeting should understand, that now it is no longer about fundamentals. So even in India, what is happening is the cases, the number of coronavirus cases are moving up, and with that, markets are also moving up. So why these things are happening? These things are happening because this inflation, what we are seeing here, red, blue, and gray line, this is going to be significantly up in next 1 year, 1.5 year. So what central banks are doing, they are trying to inflate the asset prices so that we keep the deflation. So हम लोग deflation नहीं देखेंगे और हमको inflation देखना पड़ेगा. So this is what central banks are doing. So because they are doing that, all these things, we are not going to see a significant downside in crude, or for that matter any other asset class. So we are going to see gradually all these assets will keep moving up, and the trend will be determined by that. Now coming to your main question, crude oil, how does it relate? Whatever long story I have told you, how does it relate to what is happening in crude oil? So similar thing, the fundamentals of crude oil are not bullish, but OPEC made a statement that the markets will be in the balance. So the demand and supply gap will be completely bridged by the end of July. So because of that, there has been some optimism, but I'm not recommending to go long in crude oil. I think 3030, good levels to go short, 3085, 890, keep a strict stop loss, and expect crude oil to again decline to levels of 2920, 2930. However, I'm not recommending any aggressive sell, is because of the reason I explained you. So some of you who are in this meeting would say that industrial metals are so up, or crude oil is sharply up. So whether is it a good time to sell, whether it is good time to sell and keep my shorts on, I don't think so. These are the small trading opportunity what we are going to get in shorts, but the directional view on commodity as a whole asset class is definitely bullish, bullish, bullish.
Right. And in talking even in terms of gold as well, Kunal, there's a question coming in as to why gold is not going down every time we see correction for a near while and it moves further. So if you could update, as to because they are on the sell side from a long time right now.
Okay. The question about gold. So before I go on gold, so recently we did a webinar at 6 p.m. on Monday because I had another interview. So what I'm asking everyone here is whether it is okay to do webinar every day or this alternate day is good. Because what happens is that if I have a view and I give it to you, I come back to you after 2 days. So the entire dynamics of the market keeps changing every day. So I'm asking everyone who is there in the room whether we want this webinar to be done every day on the same time or alternate days. Okay, you can just leave a message by typing it. So we'll get a just rough idea what is the consensus. Gold, the fundamentals are very, very bullish. For the same reason I explained you, there is so much money coming in. So how the gold prices are going to go down? But on Monday, the news of vaccine came like a hammer on gold. So gold market was overbought and it required some reasons to go down, and the news of vaccine triggered the selling in it. So Pfizer is claiming that they are okay to go with they've done the final trial of the vaccine for COVID-19. And because of that, if the vaccines are getting tried, the coronavirus crisis will be contained. So why gold should go up? Okay. And that led to a selling in gold. So I'm giving a very clear view in gold. $1,800, very difficult to be breached immediately. On a long term target, 2100, 2200, it can go. But in near term, with these developments, I believe that 1800 will be difficult to take off. And another thing, on the downside, I'm not expecting gold to crash also. So 1750, 1745 on the downside, it should again get a buying support. Why? Again, even if the coronavirus medicine comes, then too gold will go up because the overall economic scenario is very bad. So the damage what this coronavirus has done is going to be seen in next 6 to 8 months, where the all economic data or the results of the big corporates, they will start getting affected. So overall, this coronavirus has done big damage. What are the repercussions? In next 1 year, you will not see any interest rate hike. No central banker in the world will not think about raising the interest rate because the damage what this COVID-19 has done. So the trend, if you ask me, the trend long term is definitely bullish. In near term, $1,800, it should not breach. On the downside, 1750, 1745, you can start going long. And if you ask for the silver, same on India, maximum 49,700 to 49,800. Again, you can go short. 48,500 to 48,300 to go long. And now most of the traders who want that what needs to be done at evening session. So these are the view I gave for a broader range to understand. For evening session, I will like to go short in gold around 48,100. Keep a strict stop loss of 48,350 and expect gold prices to decline and test levels of 47,850 to 800. So I'm not expecting any major fireworks today during the evening session. But like I say all the time, these are not the markets where you be complacent. Please trade with the strict stop loss.
Right, trade with the stick stop loss, and that's something that needs to be maintained. Kunal, base metals, if you go to see even on LME as well as in the Shanghai Exchange, uh, the trend has been pretty mixed right now. There's no certain direction that we are able to pick up. Any strategy that you would want to recommend there?
Okay, so I'm bullish on base metals, but what is happening in China is that we've seen a significant rally. So no one in the world have predicted when we saw the crisis of COVID-19 in the month of March, and copper made a low of 330 rupees on MCX, and from 330 we are back to 470. So we've seen 40% rally in copper,
Correct.
where entire world's economic activity has faltered, where the demand is gone for a toss. forget about China, but rest demand excluding China has gone for a big toss. And then too, we have not seen significant copper production cuts. So out of 25 million tons of copper market, we have not seen 2 million, 3 million tons of copper production cut like what we saw in crude oil, 10% production cut. That is not something what we saw in copper. But then too, copper moved up. So it requires to a little bit retracement in technical terms, whatever you say, retracement or profit taking or whatever. I am still bullish on copper, and I'm still bullish on the overall commodity as a whole pack. And I'm of the view that these correction will provide good opportunity for evening session. It can decline 457 to 456. I think those are the levels one should start going long. No fundamentally no commodity you should buy, but the fact is the liquidity and the central bank's effort. So what you can pitch to your clients is that, sir, because central banks and investors are getting invested in inflation protected securities, so inflation के जो bonds होते हैं US में, उसमें they are investing. So because of that, commodity में कोई लंबा मंदी नहीं होगा. So the downside in commodity is going to be very minuscule. So generally क्या हमारा understanding होता है कि when we have this kind of crisis, at that time commodity should ideally crash. But that's not going to happen. None of the assets are going to crash because जो financial market के जो भगवान है वो है central banks, and central bank doesn't want markets to be crashed. That's why they are pumping so much money. So इसके लिए हमको जो levels आते हैं वो levels को follow करके जो buying के levels है, I would recommend हमारा जो हम every morning को एक report निकालते हैं जिसमें हर्षल और देवीदास एक सब levels देते हैं. सो आप वो लेवल्स को प्लीज फॉलो कीजिए. वो लेवल से अगर मैं आपको व्यू दे रहा हूँ कि कॉपर मुझे बाई एट डिप्स लग रहा है, तो वो जो रिपोर्ट में लेवल्स है, बाइंग के लेवल्स दिए, सपोर्ट के लेवल्स दिए, तो वो लेवल्स पे आप डेफिनेटली थोड़ा बहुत रिस्क लेके क्लाइंट को बाई करवा सकते हैं. सो आई वुड रिकमेंड टू फॉलो दोज लेवल्स व्हाट वी आर गिविंग. और वो लेवल्स हम लोग पाइवट टेबल में डाल के नहीं निकालते हैं, वो लेवल्स हम देते हैं ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ चार्ट रीडिंग ऑफ आवर टेक्निकल एनालिस्ट. So I would request everyone, please look at that report for the levels. वो आपको बहुत काम लगेगी. ये मार्केट में लेवल्स को दिमाग में रखना बहुत जरूरी है. सिर्फ मैं तो बोल दूंगा यहाँ पे गोल्ड में तेजी है, पर 1000 रुपए नीचे चला गया तो आप लोग को लॉस हो जाएगा. सो इसके लिए वो रिपोर्ट को भी आप फॉलो कीजिए, कॉल्स को भी फॉलो कीजिए और स्टॉप लॉस भी रखा कीजिए. सो डायरेक्शनल व्यू मुझे मेटल्स में अच्छा ही लग रहा है, कोई मंदी होगी नहीं. और दूसरा जो साउथ अमेरिका में चल रहा है, अर्जेंटीना, मेक्सिको, पेरू, ये सब माइनिंग हब है, माइनिंग डेस्टिनेशन है, स्पेशली चिले और पेरू. तो वहाँ पे भी ये कोविड-19 के केसेस बहुत बढ़ रहे हैं. एक के बाद एक सब माइन प्रोड्यूसर्स माइन बंद कर रहे हैं. सो इससे भी मार्केट में एक थोड़ा शॉर्टेज का माहौल या स्क्वीज, सप्लाई स्क्वीज आएगी. सो उसके कारण भी एक सपोर्ट मिलेगा. सो ओवरऑल व्यू कॉपर में भी तेजी का ही है. मैक्सिमम 450 तक लग रहा है, उससे ज्यादा नीचे मुझे नहीं लग रहा है.
Right, but with this, Kunal, with regards to copper, usually during the month of summer, the demand for copper is slightly muted in China. So, do you think there is a possibility, because orders have been muted? That's what I was reading a report in the month of June, and the expectation is that July or probably even August could be slightly lower in terms of a demand for copper goes, and whether a bounce back will come back in the month of September is yet to be seen. So do you think this could be one of the reasons which could play spoilsport as well?
कि फंडामेंटली तो बहुत सारे रीजन है कॉपर के प्राइसेस क्यों नीचे जाने चाहिए. द बिगेस्ट रीजन फॉर कॉपर टू गो डाउन इज दैट यूएस, यूरोप, इवन इंडिया, ये जो डोंट बाय चाइना का जो द थीम व्हिच इज गोइंग ऑन, सो अंडर दैट द एक्सपोर्ट्स फ्रॉम चाइना इज डेफिनेटली गोइंग टू टेक हिट. बट चाइना इज नो लॉन्गर एक्सपोर्ट डिपेंडेंट इकोनॉमी. सो चाइना ने लास्ट 3 years में अपना मॉडल चेंज कर दिया है. दे हैव स्टार्टेड टू बिकम मोर ऑफ अ कंजम्पशन ड्रिवन इकोनॉमी, टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन इकोनॉमी. सो नाउ दैट शुड नॉट अफेक्ट दैट सिग्निफिकेंटली. पर जो आप व्हाट यू आर सेइंग इज दैट राइट नाउ द एक्सपोर्ट्स टू यूएस, एक्सपोर्ट टू यूरोप is definitely going down. So India accounts for only 2% of the total China's exports. So India not buying China's good is not going to hurt them so badly. But US not buying Chinese good aggressively is definitely going to hurt them. Europe not buying from China definitely going to hurt them, because majority of the departmental stores in US and Europe are having goods made in China.
Mm.
So they are the one who are going to really suffer very badly. May it be furniture or may it be a lot of electronic goods or anything you tell. It's 70% of the stores are made in China. So because of that, the demand side from US to China and Europe exports is declining. So fundamentally, it should remain under pressure. But because there is so much money floating in the world, I am not in a not recommending to go short for 5 rupees, 8 rupees to 2-3% downside possible, but I'm not recommending to go shorts in metal.
Right. And Kunal, what's your view with regards to nickel? That's a query coming in.
Yeah. So same way, like I said, nickel fundamentals look very good, but the nickel story was dependent on a electric car story. Okay. So why nickel prices moved up? Nickel prices moved up because the battery which is used in the electronic car is made out of refined nickel, and
Mm.
refined nickel production is relatively muted. So Philippines and Indonesia remains the key supplier to refined nickel metal. So
Mm.
now I think the electronic cars demand is going to remain subdued right now. We are not going to see robust demand for electronic car. So slightly moderated, but the supply concern continues in nickel. So I am bullish on nickel. 975, 980, good levels to go long. Even at current price, I would still say that 1,000 rupees is very much achievable the way other metals have rallied. So I'm bullish on overall metals complex.
Right. And apart from this, with regards to the dollar rupee pair goes, there's a question coming in yesterday's session. We know we did see a major correction that did come in as well. Are you expecting a bounce back soon?
Uh, Sorry, on which commodity? I missed it.
On the rupee dollar pair?
Yeah. So rupee dollar pair, what happened is we've seen dollar index weakening, but when dollar index weakened, emerging market currencies was not doing well. Now, the entire emerging market trade, so the liquidity which I was talking about is now coming to all the emerging markets. So India, Vietnam, Indonesia, these are the markets which have started to get inflow. So whenever we get inflow, the dollar weakens and the Indian rupee appreciates. So India's fiscal scenario is very grim. There is no way India's fiscal scenario is looking attractive, but because so much money. So, for example, I'll just try to explain in a very simple way. So if I'm borrowing money from US banks, I don't have to pay. The interest rate is negligible, 0.5%, 1% interest rate. So if I invest from low yielding currency to high yielding currency, so in India the interest rates are say 4.5%. Okay, so if I bring that money into India, I'm going to get a higher returns on that capital. So what happens is there is a shift of money which takes place from low yielding currency to high yielding currency, and that is what right now is happening. So India's fundamental bad, India's fiscal scenario bad, India's balance sheet bad, India crude oil prices, entire world crude collapse, our petrol and diesel prices are still high,
Right.
but but there is a massive inflow coming in our country. The all this cheap money, the dirt free money which is being printed by the western central bankers, they are coming in our country, and hence there is a capital inflow which is coming in, and hence the USD INR pair, I was earlier of the view that it will test 75. Now it is breached 75. So I would still believe that it can still appreciate. 74.60 to 74.50 are the levels what we can see on USD INR pair. Fundamentally not supported, liquidity driven. So as an analyst, as a researcher, as a financial market community, we cannot just say fundamentals खराब है इसके लिए वो weak ही होना चाहिए. Not necessary. Fundamentals can remain bad, but then too. So we've seen even with the case of Indian Nifty or the world indices. So S&P 500 made is on the verge of making a new high or
Right.
making a
Correct.
previous high. So fundamentals, US economy is bad, but markets are running. So we have to not just look at the fundamentals or technicals. We have to understand why the rally is taking place. So now if there is any signal that the liquidity is going back or is going to be pulled off, again it will weaken. But till then we have to follow the trend. The trend is liquidity driven rally. That is the theme. So we have to capitalize on that.
Right, that's an interesting point that you've made as well, especially with regards to where the dollar rupee pair go, Kunal. I think majority of the questions that have come in also have been answered. And from the responses, Kunal, that we've got right now, I think it seems that there are preferences which are coming in for 6 as well as 3:30, but a couple of, there is a preference coming in for 5 o'clock as well, and people prefer it every day. So that's something which we need to have a look at as well.
Okay. So we'll get back to you on 1 or 2 days how we can do it every day and what time. Thanks a lot. And this we want higher and higher participation. And I think if any negative feedback also you have, you guys are free to share it to me on email. If you think that something you want it, please email me. We can work on that.
Right, absolutely. We will be working for the positive as well. So thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you, Kunal, as well, for sharing your views.